in the Economic Development Department. Otherwise, let me proceed to present our statement, which reads as follows, and of course I'll speak to it, that the Provincial Executive Committee of the SACP Gauteng Province has held a successful Provincial Executive Committee meeting, which was a continuation of a meeting that we convened last week Sunday, a day following the announcement of the local government election results. The meeting that we held last week conducted of the ANC electoral performance in the province of Gauteng, where we lost 3 metros in one election. This is a matter that we have looked at. We have adopted a comprehensive political report, which is about 45 pages, titled Reflections of the Provincial Executive Committee of Gauteng on the 2016 local government elections. So what we have here is a 45-page document reflecting on the real and major causes and factors that have contributed to where we are in the province of Gauteng. And what will follow now are just some of the summary issues, key issues that come from the political report. Firstly, one of the issues that we are raising in the political report is to welcome the statement that was released by our Politburo last week Monday, which statement has been well circulated, which contains the preliminary assessment of the Politburo on the outcomes of the elections. So as a province of Gauteng, we started by welcoming that preliminary assessment by our Politburo, and we have agreed with what the Politburo has identified as the key and critical issues that contributed to a significant decline and losing of 3 metros in our province. One of the issues that we want to emphasize as a province is that, and exactly the point that was made by the Politburo, that in analyzing the current outcomes of the elections, particularly in the province of Gauteng, we should refrain from conducting in a game of figure pointing and blaming any of the structures of the movement, be an alliance partner, or any of the components of the structures of the revolutionary movement. We believe that the tendency to apportion blame and to point fingers at each other denies us the opportunity to reflect on the issues that are quite critical to what we have experienced as a significant decline in our province. So we have dismissed, as the PEC, the notion on practice of either identifying perceptively what could be called the devil or look for the popular messiah to either blame or promote or give responsibility or blame to single individuals. So we have been very clear that what has happened in our province is a matter that requires collective accountability, and that all of us must take collective responsibility. So notions of blaming any of the leaders or structures of our movement, it's a matter that we believe will not give us the opportunity to reflect on what the people have said, particularly in the province of Gauteng. We have also raised the issue that our 45-page document analyzing the root causes and the challenges that account for what has happened is not a critique of any of our alliance partners. We are very clear that We are not conducting, an analysis of either the ANC or COSATU or SANCO, but our document is looking at the South African Communist Party in the province and the role that we have played and our contribution towards the vote that the ANC received in the province, and of course what we could have done to make sure that we manage the decline in electoral support as experienced in the province. We have also taken the opportunity to appreciate that the African National Congress remain the overwhelming political choice of our people. We must also make the point that, and this is clear from the numbers, the ANC nationally still enjoy the support of the people of our country, and of course we notice the marked decline in Gauteng province. So we should also indicate that neither of the opposition parties, as presented in certain media outlets, including some that we have here, that seeks to create the impression that the opposition parties have grown significantly high, that is not true. In actual fact, both the DA and the EFF, if you look at the investments they've made in the campaign, the messages that they've been sending, they've actually performed poorly, except of course that we didn't win the metros outright in Gauteng province. So the fact that the ANC lost the metros should not be wrongly perceived as opposition parties have done exceptionally well. They didn't, because none of them has won any of these metros. The EFF actually came very worse because they're not having a control of any municipalities. I think there'll be few wards that they've won. So the overall impression of the PEC is that the notion of an opposition that has done very well in the province is not consistent with the facts, because none of them have won the elections very clear in any of the municipalities. In actual fact, the DA simply retained, of course with an improved percentage, the elections in Midvar. But otherwise, we must dispel any notion of an opposition that is growing, that is thriving, that has hugely increased its percentage. The media reports are creating a wrong impression, as if, the opposition has outrightly won or has won overwhelmingly the elections in the province. That is not the case, and we want to dispel that. We have identified 3 factors amongst many that we believe would have accounted for a significant decline in our electoral support. The very first one relates to the fact that in Gauteng province, with the highest population and internal patterns of migration, that put strain on service delivery, on government. We believe the issue of the living conditions of the working class and the poor people constitute an important factor that would have contributed to a decline in elections. So the poor living conditions of the working class is a very, very important factor that we have looked at. What are the sources and the origin of this? One is that we must not forget that our country has had one of the most severe, deep and cruel colonialism of a special time. Oppression of the people, marginalization of the overwhelming majority of the people. That point is quite critical, we must not forget. Related to this issue that create a problem as it relates to the conditions of our people, we have also noted that poverty, unemployment, and inequality is much more pronounced in the province of Gauteng, more than anywhere in the country. And that is a reality that we're looking at. The economy of Gauteng is going in the financial sector, which does not create jobs, which continue to render many people unemployed. And that is also a structural feature of the economy in Gauteng province that is at the center of poor living conditions of the people. The capitalist system, which is rooted here in Gauteng province, has over the years make difficult the living conditions of our people. And we've also noted that over many years there's been crisis of capitalism, and the latest being 2008, 2007, crisis which would have also contributed to the worst living conditions of the people and would have also created the situation in which we are. We are aware that right here in Gauteng province, we have got massive evictions of people in the inner cities, in the townships. Houses have been repossessed, people are highly indebted. So there's a very serious problem of living conditions of our people that is at the center of the crisis and the social problems that we are seeing. So the second issue that we have noted, over and above poverty, unemployment, and inequality as constituting difficult living conditions of our people. Second to that is lack of strong organization, including ourselves and most importantly ourselves as the SACP. We believe we need strong organization to make sure that we are able to mobilize the working class and the people to vote for the African National Congress. To this extent, we have identified the fact that in Gauteng province we need to have SACP branches in all the voting districts across the province, and most importantly in the townships. So we have identified the issue of weak organization and inability to mobilize the working class to be at the center of the weaknesses that have impacted on our electoral performance. Tied to that are issues that are raised in the Central Committee, in the Politburo press statement, matters that have been agreed upon in the Alliance, that also affecting our organizations are the triple problems of factionalism, corruption, and corporate capture of organs of the state. Those three challenges also affect organizational coherence and its capacity to mobilize the working class to deliver on what it has to do, which is to make sure that our people over the time consistently vote for the ANC. We are aware that there are problems that are being raised in the mass and commercial media, and of course which have been raised even by us as the SACP. We are aware that the issues of e-tolls constitute a problem in our province, but those issues as well requires strong organization. They can only be resolved by organizations that are capable to lead the working class, to engage them, to talk to them, to explain to them, and to indicate to them the need to vote and defend the African National Congress. We can never have or anticipate that at any time in future we'll have a situation where we don't have subjective weaknesses, mistakes, decisions of government, of our own revolutionary movement, of us as the SACP, or any of our alliance partners. We will not have a situation where we have got good angels as leaders, messiahs who will not find themselves committing some of the subjective weaknesses. That has been the character of our entire revolutionary movement. It will at all times, at different points, have subjective weaknesses and mistakes. In order to deal with that, we need strong organization on the ground. And we believe that is what was lacking in these particular elections. And it's a matter that as the SACP will be looking at. The third point that we have identified as having affected our elections is the fact that we have an aggressive and confident enemy that is linked to imperialism. And of course, this is the historic enemy of our people. So this is also the third factor that we believe would have contributed to the type of election results we have seen in the province. For example, we have seen how the DA has been conducting his campaign, including the desperate theft of the legacy of Utata Nelson Mandela. We have seen how the DA has been conniving with monopoly capital and all agents of that constitute the enemy of our people. We have seen destabilization of COSATU, the revolutionary trade union movement, violence in the mines, that some of them are here in our province, divisions. We have seen what happened in the manufacturing, particularly the steel industries, which are very prominent in our province. So those divisions of the workers and the working class in our province by an aggression of the imperially sponsored enemy have been at the center of this. We have also seen the media playing an important role in de-campaigning the ANC. In this particular case, ETV went out, we don't know who funded them, but they went to pay Ipsos to run an election campaign, announcing election results every Thursday, indicating that the ANC was going to lose in the city of Johannesburg, and of course even in Nelson Mandela Bay municipality. So the campaign of ETV also points out to the fact that we had an aggressive enemy that was well sponsored and used all the tools at its disposal to engineer a counter-revolutionary offensive against our movement. All that also came in a space where we had a weak organization. The last part really relates to where to from here, having identified those three critical points as constituting a serious challenge that has weakened our own organizational performance. And just before I go on, let me also indicate that one of the things we have said is the continued fight against ETV. That is still going to continue. The fight and battle against ETV is not over because we think what they've tried to do is to set a wrong precedent which anybody can repeat. Media houses can, should, and are allowed to report on polls. But do they have to sponsor them? How are they going to be objective and give us diversity of opinions if they are sponsoring and manufacturing polls themselves? So this is a matter that we're still going to take up with ETV. We will also look at, we'll also consult with our central committee and our head office on how to take this fight forward, including approaching the independent electoral commission, the electoral court, and the media ombudsman. So there will also be follow-up activities and campaigns just on the ETV because we think they have ran a series of negative de-campaigning messages against the African National Congress. Now let us take a look at where we're moving to from here. The PEC has agreed that we must reposition and prepare the SACP to take up a fight in those municipalities where we might have a counter-revolutionary regime installed, particularly in Tshwane and in the city of Johannesburg. We have looked at a potential coalition between the EFF and the Democratic Alliance. And I must say that the PEC closed on a very positive note that in actual fact, if the EFF was to sell out the poor and ordinary people that voted for it, however little the percentage might be, sell them to our colonial masters, our historic enemies, and the enemies of the people that voted for the EFF. If the EFF was to do that by entering into an alliance with the DA, that will be the end of the EFF because it will have exposed itself that it is actually part of the enemy camp and is not part of the people's camp. And that is a fight that we're prepared to take up in case the EFF was to sell out our people to our imperialist, historical, colonial masters. And that will be an exciting period in the political landscape. We say this also because the DA template of running the Western Cape, they are going to try and bring it in the city of Johannesburg, they are going to try and bring it in Tshwane. What does that include? It includes very reactionary and conservative administration. We know that our people will find themselves crying daily from a DA administration, from the payments of rates and taxes. The friendly discussions, negotiations, consideration of the people's conditions that they used to enjoy in the city of Joburg and city of Tshwane, that is going if there was to be a counter-revolutionary regime in Tshwane. So we are saying to the EFF, they should be very careful of selling out their vote of the working class to the enemy, to counter-revolution, to the party of apartheid, which is the DA. But if that was to happen, we are ready, as the SACP, to expose the political and ideological rot within the EFF, because it must not sell out that working class vote. It was not meant to go to the bourgeoisie led by the DA and the historical enemies of our people. So we will be ready as the party in case there was to be a counter-revolutionary coalition in any of the municipalities. We will definitely make sure that working with our alliance partners, we mobilize the working class to put up a consistent but disciplined fight against any counter-revolutionary regime. The Young Communist League of South Africa has committed itself to mobilize the young people and make sure that we wage a consistent struggle if there was to be a counter-revolutionary regime here in our province of Gauteng. We'll be working with our allies. We also want to reaffirm what the Politburo said and what COSATU said, that there shall not be any discussions with the Democratic Alliance, because those are the enemies of the people. That is the party of apartheid. We have got nothing and absolutely nothing to do with the DA. It is the official representative of the colonial masters in our country, and therefore we agree with our allies. Even the ANC has said that no discussions with the DA. We can't give space to the enemy represented by the Democratic Alliance. Having said that, we have also looked at the fact that we need to strengthen alliance relations between ourselves, COSATU, and SANCO, and of course led by the ANC, to drive a program to go back to the people, particularly in the townships, in the working class areas. We are going to be putting up a fight against the banks, which are repossessing houses and properties of the people. We are going to put up a fight against evictions. And of course, we will also make sure that we continue the battle against factionalism, against corruption, and corporate capture of organs of the state. This is a battle that we will take up, of course, guided by the Central Committee and our higher structures. Let me also indicate that we will also work with the provincial government of Gauteng, whose program we have appreciated. We have congratulated the provincial government for the good work that it has done for the Ntirisano Outreach Community Program, which entails engagement and interaction with the people. And we will make sure that as the SACP, we work with our alliance partners to work very closely and to make sure that we are at the center of the work that the provincial government is doing, which is quite an exciting work, which is quite good, but we think there are weaknesses amongst ourselves as alliance partners that we need to sort out to make sure that we work very closely in the most creative and dynamic way with the excellent work that the provincial government is doing. And of course, we'll continue to make sure that the provincial government delivers on the living conditions of our people. And of course, we are aware that there might be a tension and contradiction between the provincial government and the counter-revolutionary government that might be put in place, but we will work with government to make sure that the working class do not suffer from what could be a problematic arrangement in our province. So where we are sitting to conclude is that as the SACP, we are really excited that we are entering a completely new period, which gives us the opportunity as the movement to correct our mistakes and to reposition the alliance to go back to revolutionary traditions, which are what our people are yearning for. And we think that we're entering a very exciting period on which the revolutionary movement must reclaim and reinstate its best revolutionary traditions, and the potential installation of a counter-revolutionary government is even more exciting because we can even fight a much more determined battle against enemy agents in our province. We are quite sure that come 2019, we will now even put a much more determined campaign. We will make sure that in the next 3 years, what we are seeing here in our province is a thing of the past, and the ANC will reclaim its well-deserved historic space within the working class and the poor. This thing is a temporary inconvenience. We will sort it out in case the EFF was to betray the electorate and go to bed with a DA, which, as everybody knows, the DA, wherever it enters into coalitions, it doesn't leave its partner alive, as it did with the so-called independent Democrats in Cape Town. We know that the DA will try to liquidate the EFF. But what we're excited about is whatever inconveniences that might be there, we want to assure our people we still have the provincial government, we still have ANC power, even at national, and we'll make sure that their living conditions are not affected. The arrangements that might be here, we will reverse them in the next 2 years. We're not going to have this thing, it's unsustainable. Our people did not endorse any opposition, they just didn't vote. We will go talk to them, we will run a campaign that makes sure that we respond to the concerns that they have. But otherwise, as the SACP, from where we are sitting, we think that politics in this province are going to be quite exciting, and we think we have the opportunity to reclaim the political space on a much more better basis for a sustainable offensive moving forward. That's where we are, and you can ask us any questions if you have. The comrades are here, can answer, and we take it from there.
Any questions?
We might have said a mouthful, it's no good.
It seems like there are no questions from the floor.
No questions?
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for coming through. That is the end of our press conference.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thanks.